Okay, folks, we're going to get started. I am making this announcement in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, being Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, Laws of the State of New Jersey. The Planning Board Secretary has prepared a schedule of the meetings of the Planning Board of the Borough of Kenilworth for the year 2021 and has posted a true copy of the schedule on the bulletin board located at the front entrance of Borough Hall, has mailed true copies of the schedule to the local source and the Star Ledger, and maintains a copy of the schedule in Borough Hall. Accordingly, the notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied in regards to this meeting. Can everyone please stand to salute the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a roll call?
Mr. David?
Here.
Mr. Clementi?
Here.
Mr. Mazzio?
Here.
Mr. Ladowdy?
Here.
Mr. Colello?
Here.
Mr. Scuderi?
Here.
Mr. Dimando?
Here.
And Mr. McMahon?
Here. Okay, we have a quorum to proceed. First item is approval of our June 10th minutes. Unless there are any corrections, would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes of June 10th?
So moved.
All right, I have a motion made by Mr. Ladowdy. I have a second by Mr. Dimando. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item is communications. Madam Secretary, do we have any communications?
Yes, we received a letter from residents of Locust Drive regarding 61 Locust Drive.
Okay. And that's it?
That's it.
Okay. Moving on to resolutions. We do have one resolution this evening. That's for application 20-02, El Chic Enterprises Limited, 600 Cranford Avenue, Block 147, Lot 4. I believe there is one additional condition that we need to add to the resolution. Is that
Yes,
correct, Mr. Rego?
Mr. David, Mr. Paserno, the chairman who was not here, indicated, or I had indicated in the resolution that the current site that is being subdivided was, or had a structure on an older structure that was going to be removed. The chairman indicated to me that it has already been removed, so as of now, the site is vacant, and there's apparently a security fence around the property, which will remain during the duration of construction. So we can go ahead and adopt this resolution this evening with a modification that the site is now vacant and the security fencing will stay around. Will stay around the construction. The other issue was, at the last meeting, the board was interested in seeing what the plans, the general plans were for the other lot. We had, Mr. El Chic indicated that he would be building what was then identified as 604 Cranford Ave. And the other plan, 602, he was throwing out, he was going to come back to us with another elevation for the type of house, and nothing formal, but we wanted to make certain that, as a board, we thought it was, that there was enough difference between the two houses to pass off on it, sign off on it. So, and I think the board...
Correct, yes, and so the board was, I believe everyone, Madam Secretary, everyone was provided or forwarded the email.
Yes.
Which contained the elevations in it, so, I guess, I don't know that we need anything formal, but is there anyone who doesn't think the elevations are different enough now?
I think they're fine. I think they're different enough so that we can move forward with this resolution.
Okay, I'm seeing everyone else kind of shaking their heads. Yes. Okay.
So that's it. This was basically for a minor subdivision approval. Eventually, two houses will be built, but that's not our issue now, other than the fact that they had to be different, which apparently they are, and that's pretty much where we are.
Okay, so then we need a motion and a second from those who, Mr. O'Brien has his hand up. Go ahead, Mr. O'Brien.
Perhaps Mr. Rego would add the details of the two elevations to ensure that those two houses as depicted.
I could do that. I don't know if I have that, though. I don't know if I have that. If you could
The
forward that.
elevations?
Yeah, the new ones.
I'll send them.
You've got the old one from last month for the one house, and then the new ones from email for the new
All right.
house.
That'll be fine. I'll get that and,
Use the address and cite the actual details of the drawing, so that the building department knows they have to build those.
very good, very good.
Two new homeowners. Can we ask them if they have any questions or anything now?
So we get the young couple that's going to buy a house.
No, I don't think that's
Okay.
Okay.
They can speak during the public portion.
Okay.
Okay, so Kathy, who was,
I'll call who was.
okay. I mean, but first we need a motion and a second from someone who
I make a
heard the
motion to
case.
approve
Approve the resolution.
approve the resolution.
All right, motion made by Mr. Ladati, I have a second by Mr. Demondo. Roll call.
Mr. David?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzio?
Yes.
Mr. Ladowdy?
Yes.
Mr. Colella?
Yes.
Mr. Demondo?
Yes.
That's it.
Okay, that's everyone who heard the case, so the resolution is approved, and the applicant can proceed. All right, we're moving on to old business. Does anyone have anything under old business to bring up? All right, seeing none, I see Mr. DeLuca is here. We'll move on to new business, and under new business, we have 3 applications to be heard this evening. The first one is application 5-21, Shirley Edwards, 1 Red Oak Lane, Block 147, Lot 17. Mrs. Edwards.
Kathy, it's my understanding that notice and publication are in order. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Good.
Larry, should we turn it around? Or no? No. Larry, can you turn that for her, please? Just gonna want to put papers on it. Just fixing this. There we go.
Ms. Edwards, are you going to be the only one testifying tonight? Yes. Okay. If you could raise your right hand, please. With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about shall be the truth?
Yes.
Could you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Shirley Edwards, Edwards.
And you are the owner of the property and the applicant tonight, correct? Okay. That's it. I will swear in, Mr. They always feel left out.
Yeah, Mr. Ray will swear in our
Gentlemen, with
professionals.
regard to this and the other 2 applications, do you swear any comments you may make shall be the truth?
I do.
Is it Kevin O'Brien, our planner, and Christian Cueto, our engineer?
Right. Okay, Mrs. Edwards, you're up. You can just tell the board what you're looking to do.
I have a corner lot, so on the Fitzhugh side, I want to put a generator and 2 air conditioning condensers and a fence.
Okay. So, Mr. O'Brien, maybe you can provide some background as to why Mrs. Edwards needs to be here.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. As Ms. Edwards has pointed out, she has a corner property, and unfortunately, corner properties are considered to have 2 front yards and 2 side yards. So anything between the front of the house and the street is considered a front yard. So the 2 yards that are opposite the 2 streets are actually considered side yards. Ms. Edwards would be allowed to put her air conditioning units and the generator in those side yards behind that front line of the house if she so wished. She has, I'll let her explain why, but she wishes to put these units between her house and Fig 2.
Because my backyard is already narrow. It's 18 feet, and if we put the generator and the air conditioning units in the back, That will cut it down to 10 feet of my backyard and 10 feet within my neighbor's property. To put it on the opposite side of Fatute, between the two houses, there's no way the air conditioning guy can run the electric and the piping, because there's no crawl space, there's no basement. And if the generator guy attempted to put it there, it would cost between $5,000 and $6,000 more to even try to get it to the other side.
So in your opinion, and the opinion of your contractors, where you're proposing, this is the best place on the property?
Yes. And actually, putting it on that side, because I have 25 feet to the street, to the township line, borough line,
Okay.
and then from the borough line to the street, there's another 15 feet. And then you have the street, and then you have the property across the street, 25 additional feet, so it would be almost 100 feet away from the house across the street.
Right.
We put it there. And I do have, I went out for 20 minutes the other day, and I have photos of houses, corner lots that have air conditioning units in the front. I do have copies.
There are, would it be your testimony that there are other houses in your neighborhood that have similar locations for their AC units and condensers?
I didn't, there's only one house that I saw in my neighborhood. The other three houses were on Monroe Avenue and the Boulevard.
Okay.
I do have pictures if you wanted to see them. I have
It's up to the board. If you
Yeah,
feel it's
does the
necessary.
board feel it's necessary, need that to be introduced in evidence?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's fine, but you don't need to do that, Mrs. Edwards.
Okay, my printer was busy today. All right.
Sorry. Mr. O'Brien.
And then the last piece of the application, Mr. Chairman, is Ms. Edwards is requesting a fence in her front yard. Fences are also not allowed forward of the front line of the house. So she's seeking a variance to put a fence along the right-of-way between forward of her house. Now, I understand, Ms. Edwards, that that would also screen the generator and the air conditioning units that you're putting in.
Yes. And also, on the outside of the fence, it would, facing on the township property, like, the right-of-way, I guess you call it.
Right.
It would all be professionally landscaped. There'd be perennials and annuals out there. And actually, even though I do have the fence covering the generators, in front of the generator, there's going to be rhododendrons. I'm kind of like a flower person. I want the yard to look really nice. Yeah.
Right.
And I do have pictures even of the house across the street, and they're on a corner lot, and their fence, and there's a lot of houses on Fatute Avenue, which have corner lots that have fences either all the way around in front of their property, or either, I have photos of them too, but there's many houses on Fatute that have, the fences. If you'd like to see those, I got those. I mean, I did my homework.
Yeah, we'll take them. I mean,
Yeah, you did the work.
You can hand them to Mr. O'Brien, Mrs.
So do
Edwards.
you want the ones with the air conditioning units?
That's fine.
Sure.
It's a good sign.
I mean, actually, my fence would not take away from anything, especially if you look at the house right across the street from me, it would add, take a...
Ms. Edwards, I may have missed this, but
Yes.
did you say that the fence that you're proposing will it be two-sided or one side? Like, is there front and back, or like a board on board?
It's board on board.
Okay.
It's, I have a picture of it.
No, it's okay.
It's Western Cedar, board on board.
Do you have family photos?
On my phone, I do.
She's done a better job. She's done a better job.
Oh, and also about the fence.
Should mark,
I do have the mailman, and mostly the mailman. My bedrooms are on the first floor. He likes to go across my backyard. When he does that, he crosses right underneath my bedroom window, underneath the kitchen window, and the computer room window. When he goes along the front, he actually goes past 3 bedroom windows, right across my front lawn, right by the windows. And I did catch him one time. I do have a picture of him if you want to see.
We'll pass on that one.
I was making the bed, and I had to see out in the one window, and I got my camera out fast enough to take a picture of him.
Ms. Edwards, I'm going to mark this group of photos as A1 in evidence, which is,
Okay.
it's good. Did you take these, and if so, when? Roughly, when did you take these?
The air conditioning ones I took yesterday.
Okay.
The
I'm gonna mark
fence
those
within the
A2.
last week, the fences.
Okay, all right, I'm going to mark these A1 and this A2, the AC units. Okay.
Mr. Bowman, here's the mailman walking under my window as I'm making the bed.
Okay, well,
I'm
thank
glad
you.
you guys are laughing, because I'm very nervous. I never spoke to God before.
No need to be nervous.
Ms. Edwards, and it's going to be a 6-foot high fence?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that all you had? Okay.
I'm going to mark the mailman picture A3.
Mr. O'Brien, wait.
No, because actually, we're having a problem getting the fence. The fence was ordered, it came in, not the quality that was better. Kind of like the contractor is having a problem with getting wood now, so we're waiting. But it will be. The whole yard will be fenced in.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. O'Brien, to see if he has any questions. Get our professionals done first before board questions. Okay, good.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, as the board knows that this is a variance request, so therefore a burden of proof has got to be met. Ms. Edwards, in looking at your property, do you believe that there's a hardship based upon the size of your property and regarding the placement of these accessory units?
Okay, now, when you say hardship, what do you actually mean?
That because of the size of your property, that you are not able to place these accessory units in another location?
Yes, because my backyard would be narrowed down to 10 feet, as it's only 18 feet now.
Okay. Our master plan calls for a new development that is consistent with and compatible to the existing neighborhood. Do you believe that what you're proposing is consistent with the neighborhood as it exists currently?
Yes.
And do you believe that there will be any detriment or harm to the surrounding properties or to your neighborhood as a result of this application?
I don't think so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any board members have any questions for Mrs. Edwards? Okay. Seeing none, then would someone like to make a motion to either approve or... Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we approve application 5-21.
No public comment?
Oh, sorry,
Oh, sorry.
yes, sorry about that. Thank you for reminding me, jumping ahead here. Okay, so can we have a motion then to open the hearing to the public? Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Mazzio, second by Mr. Clementi. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, the hearing is open to the public. If there's anyone here who would like to speak on this case and this case only, step forward and state your name and address for the record. Okay, seeing no one, Can I have a motion to close the hearing?
I move to close.
Okay, do I have a second? Motion made by Mr. Mazzio, second by Mr. Clementi, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we can, so moved. Now we can move on to a motion. Mr. Ladati was about to make a motion
I'll
to
make
approve.
a motion that we approve application 5-21.
Is there someone who'd like to make a
Shirley
motion? I see Mr. Scuderi's hand up first, so Mr. Scuderi is seconded. I don't believe we have any conditions or anything that we need to add to.
No, just the, whatever their plans show, but I will put our normal conditions in there.
Okay.
In terms of reports, whatever Kevin and Christian put in their reports.
Okay, then we can proceed to roll call.
Mr. David?
Yes.
Mr. Clementi?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzio?
Yes.
Mr. Ladowdy?
Yes.
Mr. Colella?
Yes.
Mr. Scuderi?
Yes.
Mr. Demondo?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
And Mr. Mulholland?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it, Mrs. Edwards?
Application is approved.
Thank you very much. I'm getting the mailman back. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ron. Good to see you. All right. We can then move on to, everyone's ready? We can move on to application 1-21, which is, hopefully I'm saying this right, Tiago De Jesus Neto, 36 North 13th Street, Block 77, Lot 18. Is someone here to represent the applicant?
The applicant's architect is here, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So forgive me, I'm a little rusty. We've been doing most of these virtually. Is there a proper location to set up easels?
We usually have it set up like right in that area. You can bring it, oops, sorry. Well, I mean, I guess we can leave it there. I don't know if anybody can really see it over there, but normally we bring it here.
I'll speak loud enough to project from over there.
That's fine.
The best spot. You're going to have a lot of board members behind you, I think, and let's...
Yeah, should I just keep moving my way to that corner?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's going to be tough for us to see anyway, but I think everybody,
Rather short.
yeah, should have received copies of the plans in their mailboxes.
Yes.
And we're good on notice and publication. Sir, if I could have your, if you could raise your right hand, please.
Sure.
With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
I do.
Could you state your name and spell your last name?
Anthony D'Augusta, D''A''G''O''S''T''O.
Anthony, okay. And you're Mr. Neto?
Yes.
If you could raise your right hand, please, I have a feeling you might be contributing. And D.H. With regard to this application, do you swear that your testimony will be the truth? And state your name and spell your last name, please.
Tiago Jesus Neto, D-E-J-E-S-U-S.
And you're the owner of the property and the applicant?
I'm sorry?
You're the owner of the property?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. DeCosta, could you give the board, I don't know if you have appeared in front of us before, if you could give us a 60-second,
I'll do better.
who are you, what do you do, and what your occupation is, the normal?
Sure, I have not had the pleasure of presenting before Kenilworth. I am an architect, a licensed architect working for English Architecture Engineering. I'm a partner with that firm. I have a license in good standing. Primarily, our business is multifamily housing with some sprinkles of single-family housing.
And you've testified before boards before?
Many.
All right, thank you. I don't have a problem if you...
No. Board members, you accept? Okay. Good to proceed.
Thank you. So I'm going to keep this brief because I know how much fun these are. In general, we're here before you because we have a non-conforming existing use with a single-family home at the property in question. And those non-conforming conditions are the front yard setback, which the existing is 24.8 foot. What's required is 25 foot. And the existing sides are 4.9 and 3.9, whereas your ordinance requires 5 feet for both of those. We're not exacerbating either of those side yard setbacks as part of our presentation this evening. We are extending our new porch, or proposed new porch, encroaching beyond the requisite or permitted 3 feet to be just less than that. So we're actually just encroaching 0.4 feet. Probably makes sense for you to go to the exhibits first, if that makes sense.
Do we have those already?
Those plans are the same that you have.
Then you don't need to mark that. You can certainly go to that and tell us what you want to tell us.
Sure. So in essence, our client is looking to add a level. And to do so, in reviewing the existing zoning conditions, we recognize that the existing use of the building complies, but the setbacks do not. As I mentioned, the side yards are beyond what the zone permits, and the front yard is just over in terms of the building location, and then the porch location of the existing building extends just beyond that as well. What we're presenting tonight is the addition of the second story to this, a rear yard deck, both of which would be in compliance with your ordinance to begin with. However, we're not expanding in the left or right direction of the building on the side yards. We are adding a new porch to the front of the building that extends beyond the 3-foot platform for our stoop, and that new porch covering just extends beyond the requisite 3-foot setback that's required, and we're a little bit less than 2. So, testimony is one that I think is probably best referred to in a series of colored images. These are not in your possession, so we can mark them.
Let's mark that A1, and if you could tell us with tonight's date, which is July 8th, and if you could tell the board what it is.
So these are a series of images of the existing conditions as well as our proposed. The first image is the existing home.
So these are colorized.
These are colorized pictures of the same image that is actually in your collection of drawings there, is represented here. As I mentioned, a single-story garage, single-story home, traditional cape, much like many homes on the street. The chimney to the right of the building extends into the side yard as well, and we're looking to add a level. The porch in question is that which we're here for tonight mostly, where the existing masonry porch sticks beyond the allowable distance, and we're adding a covering that actually covers that stoop a bit more and exacerbates the diminutively. Some precedents of what we're looking to accomplish in part of our addition. These images are some images within town and have some of the same design characteristics that we would execute here as well. The material palette is one that I'm sure all of you are familiar with. It seems to be popping up everywhere. It's a mix of vinyl and fiber cement siding, as well as some masonry veneer. The rendering, you'll see at the end of this presentation, as also part of our documents, is one that mimics a lot of these design elements. So the rendering here identifies exactly what we're trying to target to do. As you can see, the garage accepts a second-story addition, as well as the single-story home that is present. The stoop in question here extends out, and this covering for that stoop is the element in question. Again, we're talking about a mere few inches, 0.4 feet, as it's described in the drawing set. And by and large, everything else remains the same from the street frontage. There is a rear deck being added to the home. It doesn't show up in this rendering, of course, but as you can see, the material palette is, as I described, a mix of vinyl, fiber cement, and some cast stone and brick at the base of the building. And then from a site plan perspective, from a dimension standpoint, the existing side yard is 3.9. Again, we're not compromising that any further. That remains 3.9. The northern side yard is 4.9. Again, it doesn't meet your 5-foot requirement, but we're not doing anything to the side yard there. The rear yard We are in compliance even with our addition to the second story. The new deck extends out, which sits about 34 feet to the deck proper and 30 feet and change to the rear stair. Again, all of that is in compliance with your zoning ordinance. But at the front of the building, we're 21.6 feet is to the roof of the covering of the stoop, and your ordinance requires 22 feet. So again, we're dealing with a matter of 0.4 feet. In general, that's my testimony.
Question. There's two renderings on the side of the building on the north side. What are those? Is that like an air
This is a chimney and steps and a chimney.
Oh,
The existing, no change there.
they're existing.
In discussing with my client, it's likely that the chimney will be removed as part of the renovation, but for now, we're holding it.
Thank you.
Question, will you have to deal with the air conditioning condensers on that side? Is that an issue as far as the placement being that it's not compliant on either side?
I think the air conditioners will go to the rear. There's not real much space.
Oh, that's right, we can't do it on this.
Okay, I would like to turn it over to our professionals first to see if they have any questions of...
Only a couple comments. Did you receive both the planners and engineers report?
I did.
Is there anything in there that...
Take no exception.
Okay, no exception, okay. So the applicant will apply for a grading permit prior to construction, and can you go a little bit more detail about the material of the deck that
Sure.
is being sold?
Sure, so it's represented in white. I highly doubt we'll build a white deck. It doesn't hold up so well. But it will be a composite deck, so not a wood structure, and composite, as everyone calls it, a Trex style deck. Color to be determined, but likely in the material palette, color palette of the home.
Are there going to be any other exterior construction besides just the house? Is there anything with the sidewalk, the driveway, curbing out front?
It's likely that we'll replace the wall to the front of the house, but again, no increase in impervious coverage. It'll be a direct one-to-one replacement. As a matter of fact, if it's pavers, it could be argued that it's an improvement of the existing impervious conditions there.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cueto. Mr. O'Brien, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I asked in my report about a ground level door at the southwest corner of the house. I did not see a landing. Where does that door lead? Does it need a landing?
That door doesn't need a lining.
No, that's the north, at the southwest corner in the architectural elevations.
This, I'm not seeing the stair elevation.
Not stair,
Door. Oh, the rear door, the rear.
Yeah, that seems to go out on the grass.
That's, yes, that's right. That comes out of the rear of the garage.
Doesn't that require a landing?
It does at its ground level.
Okay. Those are my questions. That's it. I have some comments whenever the board's ready.
Can I ask a couple follow-up questions? There's some pre-existing deficiencies which are not being aggravated, and there are new variances. Could you just highlight the new variances that are going to be created from this construction?
The front yard setback is that only of which that is compromised. It is the de minimis exception for the covered porch, whereas 22 feet from your front yard, front lot line is required. We're just under that.
And that's the only new one?
That's correct.
The front yard, the left and right side yard setbacks combined are not being enlarged in any way, or?
They're not.
Okay. And the front yard setback from the house or from the porch roof?
The porch. The existing home is also in conflict with the...
Got it, okay.
We're not
So those are the only two, and one is basically, you're proposing 24 feet, 8 inches, and the requirement's 25 feet to the house?
That's correct.
And for the front yard porch, you're what, almost 3.5 feet short,
No,
You said .4.
the front porch covering is not the same as the structure to the home,
right,
so that actually allows us to stick out 3 feet.
3-foot extension, so you're what, 4 inches, give or take?
Correct, yep,
So those are your only new ones?
that's correct.
Okay.
All right, board members, any board members have any additional questions for the architect? Let's see. I do have one question. So is there like a specific reason why the .4 has to, you couldn't cut 4 inches off?
The existing stoop is 3 feet deep, right, masonry stoop. If we were to cut that back, you'd have exposure to that stoop, and, you know, the whole purpose of that covering is to kind of get in from the weather, delivery guy kind of standing there. It kind of defeats the purpose if some of it is missing and it's uncovered, so that's the whole purpose of kind of making it even with the front of the masonry.
So you're keeping the existing stoop, or it's being replaced?
Likely to rebuild them, but exactly to the same dimensions as they are now.
So the landing would be covered.
The entire landing would be covered, yeah, not the stairs leading to it.
But if you're rebuilding, then again, my question is, why couldn't you just take the 4?
A 2'8" landing is...
Oh, it's not, that's
yeah.
correct, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. Yep, got it. Any questions? Any other? Okay. Mr. Cueto, you were done. Mr. O'Brien, you had some further comments?
Thank you, Chairman. By putting a second floor addition on the existing non-conforming home, the applicant is actually putting new structure within those setbacks, and that's why variances are required. So although the sides are not being exacerbated or increased in any way, the fact that new structure is going up is a new violation of the side yard setbacks, which is why the applicant is before this board, because there were so many deviations that if it had been, say, 1, it was only a couple inches off, the zoning officer could call de minimis and just say, okay, you're doing the existing, it doesn't really have an effect, it's only a couple inches off. That's one way to look at things. But here it's both sides and a front. They all currently violate, they're all going to violate with new structure. So although the exception is minimal, as the architect has pointed out, nonetheless, it requires a variance, and therefore the applicant has to prove either hardship or a benefit to the community.
Okay. Any follow-up on that?
Sure, I would suppose that the benefit is there is an existing home there that is in not the best shape. The driveway has been kind of left to ruin. The home has seen better days on its facade. The housing stock itself is looking to improve the lot by extending up a level, using modern contemporary materials, a bit more bright of a color palette. Part of the planning report identified or questioned is if there are other locations within the neighborhood where stoops may stick out beyond the setback. It's difficult to tell. We didn't survey all the properties with an official survey, but by visual inspection, there are other areas that have similar conditions where the front porch sticks out maybe beyond what the 25-foot setback would be. But in general, it's not necessarily an entirely hardship. What we're trying to do is improve the current conditions that exist.
No more questions from board? I'll entertain a motion to open the hearing to the public then. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. O'Donnell, I have a second by Mr. Clementi. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. The meeting is open, or the hearing is open to the public. If anyone has anything they would like to say in regards to this hearing and this hearing only, please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Mr. Netto, anything, or no? You okay? I'm good. Good, okay.
Okay. Can I have a motion to close the hearing to the public?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Ladati. I see Mr. Demondo's hand up. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, the hearing's closed. All right, then at this point, I will entertain a motion to either approve or deny the application.
I make a motion to approve the application number 1-21.
Okay. Is there a second? I see Mr. DeLuca's hand up. All right, roll call.
Mr. David?
Yes.
Monty?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzio?
Yes.
Mr. Ladowdy?
Yes.
Mr. Colello?
Yes.
Mr. Scuderi?
Yes.
Mr. Demondo?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
And Mr. McMullen?
Yes.
That's it.
Thank you all.
Mr. I guess, I don't know if you're Mr. and Mrs. Neto, so I shouldn't say that. Mr. Neto, your application has been approved. The formal resolution will be memorialized in August.
Well, September.
I'm sorry, September, that's right. We do not have an,
But we'll add some language.
right. We're going to add some language to the resolution, which will allow you to proceed at your own risk until the formal resolution is in there.
Sure. I would imagine the building department has different take on how to proceed, but we'll cross that path when we get to it.
I think you'd be fine, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Back to my agenda. All right, moving right along. We have one last application this evening. I'll just give his applicants a moment to clear out.
We're good on notice of publication. I think we're
Yes, yes.
All right, we've just established, well, let me bring it up. All right, we're moving forward with application 4-21, Deborah Santaramo, 25 North 12th Street, Block 77, Lot 5. Our attorney and secretary just established proper notice has been met. So, are you Mrs. Santaramo?
I am.
Okay, then you can proceed with your case.
Will you be the only one testifying, as far as you know?
Yes.
Okay. Could you raise your right hand, please? With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
Yes.
Could you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Deborah Santaramo, Santeramo.
And you're the applicant and the owner of the subject property?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The floor is yours.
I extended my deck. The reason for extending my deck is because my mom that's 90 lives with me, and by extending the deck, it gives her more floor space to walk around, especially in this last year with COVID, not being able to go out. And currently, the way the deck was, the sun wouldn't be on the deck. It would be on the deck until maybe 2 o'clock. And by extending the deck by a little over 7 feet, she's able to go out on the deck and get fresh air, some vitamin D, anytime during the day. And she has a problem with walking around with stairs, the ground outside, the dirt, the grass. She's unsteady walking on it. So by extending the deck, she's able to get out and get what she needs, that the doctor, says that what she could use. So that's basically behind extending the deck at the house.
Who built the deck?
A friend.
A friend. And they didn't get permits for the deck, correct?
I didn't realize I needed a permit because I had done an addition on the house, and I had a deck put on the back, and everything passed inspection. So I just, after being home for so long, I just wanted to add on a little over 7 feet, a railing's worth, and I didn't realize that I needed a permit. Otherwise, I would have gotten a permit because I did an expansion on the house. I got every permit that I needed, so I didn't realize I needed it. I was just adding a little onto the deck.
Since the deck was built, has it been inspected by the Borough Construction Department in terms of if it meets the building requirements, building code requirements?
I couldn't get an inspection. I was told that I needed to get the variance first before I could do the permit. All the drawings were done, but I was told you can't go to step B until you get A done. So,
Okay.
I'll turn it over to our professionals. Mr. Cueto, did you have anything on this particular?
You said you had a building addition and there was an older deck there previously, and then you extended that, or did you?
then I did my home renovation, a deck was put on. And what I recently did was I extended what was recently inspected. I extended.
So there's a kind of like an older part of the deck, and then you added another 7 feet to that existing deck.
Correct.
That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. O'Brien?
So the applicant is here because she did apply for a zoning permit from the borough for the addition to the deck. The zoning permit was denied because it extended into the rear yard.
Okay. Does any board members have any questions for Mrs. Santarama?
Is there a fence around the,
There's a fence
The rear yard?
around the rear yard, correct.
How high is this deck off the ground?
I think it's like 4 feet. Oh, that's the way the deck was built, but there's a color picture of what the deck looks like completely.
Mrs. Santarama, did the original deck receive a permit?
It was part of the whole building permit, correct?
So that was earlier inspected and it was found to be appropriate?
Correct.
The original deck, so the 7-foot
Correct.
deck was just added to it and we don't know what's going on there. All right. Did the same person build both decks?
Yes.
There was a photograph or just a drawing?
I had photographs in the packet.
Does anyone have that? I have that.
It was a black and white, and I know I put it in the packet.
yeah,
You saw it?
They were in all of them.
I have a question regarding our inspection process now, because whether we approve or deny, it still has to get inspected. Obviously, the footings have to be inspected, and how are they going to inspect the footings if the building's already built? Not to mention, occupancy at this point of the deck is negated because no permit has been obtained, so we haven't established the safety. Now, whether or not, my question is basically, what is our process and why are we here if we don't have a valid construction report saying that the structure that was built is good to propose for us to either get done? Just a general question, I'm just kind of throwing it out there because I feel like we put the cart before the horse in this matter. Because we don't even have a valid construction report saying, well, the footings are not done to code.
Well, we didn't put the cart.
No, I'm just saying that my general
The applicant put the cart.
is, say, assuming we approve this, Fisher goes back and the footings are done wrong.
I'll turn it, I don't know if Mr. O'Brien, Mr. Cueto, but in my opinion, it would have to be redone. I mean, if we approve it.
That would be my opinion.
Right. So,
Remember that, Kevin?
right, Mr. O'Brien?
Why don't you address the former, the matter?
Thank you, Sharon. Should this board approve the application, then the zoning permit would be issued, and the construction department would have to inspect what has been constructed and would have to fulfill all the construction department requirements in order for the construction permit to be issued. If it does not meet those requirements, there would have to be some kind of process by the applicant to meet those requirements of the building department. On the other hand, should this board decide to deny the application, then the part of the deck within the setbacks would have to be removed.
Additional?
Mr. Brown, if they find that it wasn't done properly, footing or whatever, what's be the next step?
The construction department will not issue a permit until it meets their requirements.
If the footings need to be inspected and if earth needs to be disturbed to check that out, then it's got to be disturbed. You understand that? It's homes that are built and they plaster the walls. If someone says, I want to look at the electrical circuits, you have the right to go through the wall to do that. So you will have to, this portion of the deck will need to go through a normal inspection to the satisfaction of the officials, so it can be what you would want to make sure that it's safe and appropriately built.
Sure.
Okay.
Just to clarify, you said the same person built it, that built the other deck, just came back into the addition?
Correct.
And that's my concern, is that we had the permit for the first one, and the builder knew that, and then doesn't know to get the permit or the approval for the building permit for the second part of it.
Yeah, and to further comment on that, my assumption would be if they did the previous construction, they would also know the setbacks required in the Borough of Kenilworth and should have complied with those setbacks before building it, so.
The problem that I had was, the initial contractor I had on the job, he was the one that did most of the work. Then I had problems with that contractor, so then I had to dismiss that contractor. And then I had to find someone to continue working on whatever needed to be completed on the house. So the original person that was hired, he wasn't in the picture because he would take the money and he would run and he wouldn't complete the job. So,
Well,
but it was complete. Everything was, the job was complete and inspected by the town, the deck.
That was the previous construction. We're talking about the new construction, right? So, anyway, are there additional questions or comments from board members?
I found the picture in my packet. Can you tell us about because it's hard to tell, the building material, what's used to
It's the
construct
Trex
it?
deck on top and it's the wood underneath.
And the railing is a Trex railing?
Trex.
Anyone else?
Yes, excuse me. Was the extension done by a licensed contractor?
Yes.
A licensed deck contractor,
Yes.
not a plumber. Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, professionals, anything else? No? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to open the hearing to the public. Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Clementi. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mazzio. All in favor? Aye. Okay, the hearing is open to the public. If there is anyone here who would like to speak on this case, and this case only, please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Bob Herbert, 14 North 12th Street. I live a few doors down from Debbie, and I just wanted to comment in case you guys have any reserving on voting on plus. The work that was done looks very nice. I visited, but to Mr. DeLuca's question about why we don't have a construction report is our construction official, which is very good at his job, unless a permit is issued, he will not go out and do any inspection. But if this board decides to approve it, at that time, Debbie will apply for permits, they'll be reviewed, and there'll be proper inspections on the footings, the railing size, the beams on the joists, for the floor. And if any of those conditions are not met to the UCC building standards, our construction official will not release a final approval until everything is corrected. So at the end of the day, she won't be using it until she gets a final inspection once she applies for the permits, if this is approved tonight. But under the UCC, if permits are not issued, the construction official cannot go out to the site, just for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herbert. Is there anyone else here to speak? Just step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Name is Joseph Iscaro. I'm the next door neighbor of Debbie, and just want to say that the deck is a beautiful deck, and it's well put together. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I don't see anyone, so I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing to the public. Okay, moved by Mr. Mazzio. Do I have a second? Mr. Demondo, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. Hearing is closed to the public. And, yeah, I do have one additional question, which maybe you can answer. What is the total size of the deck now?
Then the new portion that was put on was...
No, I want the total size of the deck. The old and the new.
Okay, so the old deck was... Well, I think it's 23 by 10. And then there's stairs, and then it's 10 by 20.
Oh, okay.
It's not completely.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, like I said, the reason for doing this was because the way the sun shifts, and my mother's able to get outside different times of the day. I mean, the sun goes away, 2 o'clock, it's done on the existing deck. So by extending it, she's able to go out at different times of the day to be out there, to get more fresh air. And that was the reason behind it. And I would have never realized this if I wasn't home for COVID. And you see a lot of things, and I was able to get her out more. And that was the reason behind extending the deck.
It's hard to tell.
Mr. Cuetos, looking at the survey.
Is it 400 square feet? Does that sound right? I have an area that's 18 by 20, that's 360, and then a smaller area connected, about 8 by 7, 56, so about 416 square feet.
Okay. Anything else from anyone before? All right. If not, then I will look for someone to make a motion to either approve or deny the application.
If it's approved, it would be subject to reports. It would be subject, most importantly, to all appropriate inspections.
Mr. Demondo?
To approve it.
Okay. Motion. Does someone want to second that? Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve. I guess we'll have roll call.
Mr. David?
No.
Mr. Clementi?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzio?
Yes.
Mr. Ladowdy?
No.
Mr. Colella?
No.
Mr. Scuderi?
No.
Mr. Demondo?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
No.
Mr. McMahon?
Yes.
5-4. It's denied.
5-4.
The application has been denied by the board. I guess we'll be memorializing the resolution at our September meeting.
What does that mean?
Basically, I guess Mr. O'Brien, I guess the construction department will be letting you know that it's been denied and you would have to remove the portion that extends into the rear yard setback.
Even if building department, why can't the building department come in and inspect?
The application has been denied. There's nothing for them to inspect. It has to be built to code. Okay. All right. We can move on. I have my agenda here.
It's pretty much,
which I misplaced.
Comments.
Oh, here it is. I got it. All right, so we can move on to comments for the good of the board. Does anyone have any comments for the good of the board?
Two.
Go ahead.
Just a general comment about the previous application, the addition and the quality of the presentation by the architect. Again, another residential application, putting their best foot forward as opposed to a lot of these commercial and developer applications that we get. And I know we're still in the process of completing our master plan, and there's some changes in this, that, and the other thing, but I don't know if we need to tighten things up, but at least you can see what the, whoever's, planning on developing and what they're doing.
Yeah, excellent point.
So that was one comment, just. And as far as, this most recent application, I mean, it's a tough, I think it's a tough spot for the board. We're here after the fact, and we don't know if they had come to us, or any applicant, it's not the first time this has happened, that, that if someone comes to us before they've actually built something, whether or not we would have deliberated and approved it. We didn't have the opportunity. I voted to approve it, but at the same time, I'm thinking hardship. But it's a tough spot for the board, and, I think everybody did what they needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just comment on that. For me, there was testimony that the same person built both, and in my mind, that should have meant that they knew the rear yard setback and should have built it accordingly. So that was kind of what influenced my decision. But anyway, valid point. Anyone else for the good of the board? Okay, and at this point, I will entertain a motion to open the meeting to the public.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Ladati. Second. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Mr. Mazzio. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, the meeting is open to the public. If there's anyone who has anything they would wish to say, step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Christine Grispart. I have been a resident of the town for my entire life. My mother has just presented. And just some of the assumptions as to people needing to know certain building regulations, and just how everything was spoken about. My mother is a single mother who not only took in her own mother during hard times and wanted to do something good, and she's not even getting the opportunity to do such. To be able to go through that process and have it assessed, and now she's gonna have to go all the way back. And my grandmother is already upset because she is the one who wanted more time outside. So she also feels bad and guilty that we have to go through this entire process, and the fact that we can't even have an opportunity to try to prove that the deck is structurally sound is just very hurtful. So I just wanted to just get up and say, do not make assumptions just because a contractor or somebody was the one who put something up. They didn't proceed to ask questions. They just wanted to take the money, build the deck, and it's just very, it just makes me kind of step back and just say, it's just upsetting. As somebody who sees a single, hardworking mother who did something for somebody else and is so giving, and she didn't even have the opportunity to see it through. So it hurts me that she's gonna have to take this down and not only have to pay for that after going through this entire process, and then hopefully start back up if she can financially afford it. So I just wanted to just give my 2 words before people start assuming, and them not following the rules. We don't know the rules. You know, we're just doing what we think. And you hear people putting up decks in other towns, in this town and whatnot, that, you know, they just do small projects. So you don't assume that you have to go to the town and get a permit. So I just wanted to say just a few words regarding that, and that, you know, she wasn't trying to be sneaky, and she wasn't trying to go against the rules of the town. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion of the meeting. Motion made by Mr. Mazzio, I have a second by Mr. Clementi, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, meeting is closed to the public, and I guess at this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. No one wants to leave? Okay, so the motion made by Mr. Ladati, do I have a second? Mr. Scuderi, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.